now just 24 hours after Reform UK unveiled its hardline plan to stop small boats crossings, French and British authorities rescued 157 migrants from a burning dinghy in the Channel. The craft is believed to have set sail from the coastal village of Veules-les-Roses in Normandy before the boat's engine caught fire while it was still in France's search and rescue area near British waters. Both British and French rescue vessels quickly assisted in the operation, with officials in Paris saying it was one of the biggest rescue operations in the Channel since 2018. Well, joining me now is the Times reporter in France, David Chazan. David, good evening to you.
Good evening, Kate.
I gathered that you were writing in the Times first thing today, actually, about being along the North France coastline, and you got to see for yourself firsthand the pull, the urge and the desperation, really, of migrants to get in boats to cross the Channel.
Yeah, that's right. I saw a group of about 30 migrants in a place called Ardelot-Plage, which is about 40 miles south of Calais, about 60 miles north of Veules-les-Roses, where the ill-fated dinghy launched very early this morning, the one that caught fire. But they were unable to board the dinghy that came to collect them. It already had about 70 migrants on it, and the people smugglers wanted to put more. But a French police boat and French police officers on jet skis managed to get in the way, get between the dinghy and the migrants who had waded into the water wanting to clamber aboard. And so they couldn't do it, and they were forced to just return to the shore. They seemed very, very disconsolate, very disappointed. They were mostly Eritrean and Somali, and on previous occasions, I've seen mostly young men trying to cross. But this was a mixed group. It was about 50-50 men and women, and there was a large number of very young children with them. So the French holidaymakers who were on the beach, and there were some British holidaymakers there too, took pity on them and gave the children ice cream. Some of them asked the migrants if they were hungry and offered to feed them. So all in all, there was a lot of sympathy for them there.
Yeah. Let's fast forward to the awful incident today. And, you know, there are questions about how French and British sort of border security command are working together. This was a boat with 157 people in it, a mega dinghy, as it was called. It was spotted by French authorities. And it was determined that the vessel, that it would be too precarious to take action at that point, given the structural fragility of the boat, they said. It's also been reported that the migrants aboard did not want to be rescued by French authorities because they were desperate to get into English water. The engine then caught fire in French water, and there was a joint operation between Britain and France to come to the rescue, which thankfully all 157 migrants were rescued. What can we dig into there, David, in terms of how cooperative the French authorities are being? Because this leans into the fact that, you know, we have to question, did they not want to intervene with that boat because they genuinely thought it would be dangerous for them to intervene, or did they not want to intervene because they were keener for that boat to reach British waters?
Well, first of all, the French authorities have updated the number of migrants who were aboard. They're now saying it was 173, not 157, as they had said earlier. But this is completely in line with French policy and with this multi-million-pound new agreement which Britain has with France for French police to try to police their coast. What the French police do is, if they see that there are 20 or more people on one of these boats, they will not try to intercept it in the water, because they fear that if they go in and slash it, these are usually rubber dinghies or, you know, inflatable dinghies, whatever material they're made from, and they fear that if they slash it so that it won't be seaworthy, people are going to fall off it and drown. And that's a very real concern for the French police. Yesterday, when I was in Ardes-la-Plage, I spent quite a lot of time talking to the police, and they say that they see it primarily as a protection mission, that similarly to the way that they protect French citizens in France, their job is to protect the migrants rather than to arrest them unless they actually break French law. And so when they see, particularly when there's children and women on board these precarious craft, if they can stop them launching, they will do. But once they're in the water and they've got a large number of people on board, then they won't do it because they don't want to cause any deaths.
Right. OK. I mean, that seems sensible. But at the same time, if it's a protection mission, then the intent is to safely protect the passage of that dinghy, and in this case, 173 people aboard. It's to protect those people on board until they reach UK waters, and then presumably the French will feel that their job is done. And the whole notion of that is problematic, isn't it?
Why is it problematic?
Well,
what would you want them to do?
Well, I think it's perhaps trying to find a way, or trying to gain an understanding of why very unsafe boats and the larger boats are the most unsafe ones. They're more likely to get into trouble. Migrants are crammed aboard. So you've got the French protecting a very dangerous vessel until it gets into UK waters. Perhaps some would argue, rather than trying to intervene earlier, and they're obviously limited with their powers. But it's going to irk someone. It is going to irk people. I think, David, the very notion that France won't intervene unless they're on the shoreline or unless there are less than 20 migrants aboard these boats. It makes it perilous, doesn't it? And it also means that people smugglers will actively pursue large boats, not only because it makes them more money, but because they will be protected by the French until they reach UK waters.
Well, the people smugglers aren't on board these things, first of all. And let's not forget that there are a dozen or so people smugglers now serving lengthy prison sentences in France. So where possible, the French police are trying to get them, trying to find them and arrest them. But once the boats go into the water, the people smugglers, you see, they inflate them and sort of push them out, and they then leave one of the migrants to actually pilot this perilous craft across the channel, and they disappear. So unless the French police can catch the people smugglers in the act of doing that, it's quite difficult to find them. Mm. And so what the French have, they have a vessel that monitors the coast, and when the vessel spots one of these dinghies going across, it will shadow it, which is what happened with the dinghy that caught fire. And if it gets into trouble, they will rescue the people aboard. But it's very difficult for the French to rescue people who are refusing to be rescued because they're so intent on reaching the UK. So it's a tough call for the French. If they intercept it in a muscular way, they're scared that people are just going to fall into the water and drown. There are deaths quite often when these things cross. Within the past few days, there have been 2 deaths, and we've seen about 15 deaths this year. So it is a very real concern. It's a thorny issue. It's not as simple as the critics in the UK portray it sometimes. Say, yes, the French should go in, do what's needed to stop these boats. It's actually, in practice, somewhat more complicated than that.
Well, look, thank you for explaining it, and I urge people to read your piece. It went up this morning, but it gives you a really good perspective on what it's like, David, having witnessed some of the actions on the French coastline, just near to Calais. Thank you for being with us, David. Always appreciate it. David Chazan, who is a Times reporter, who has been along the North France coastline. Thanks for being with us. Really appreciate it.